Welcome back. Thanks for joining us for the America in Bloom Symposium in the Sky. We will be here through Friday with great educational programming, idea sharing, and virtual networking, plus lots of awards to present. Speaking of awards, let's turn the computer reins over to Mason Day to share the next awards to be presented.
Hello, Mason Day, back again, Chair of the America in Bloom Awards Review Committee, and it's time to announce 2 more awards. As a reminder, all of our special awards this year are self-nominated due to COVID-19 and how it's changed the fact that we haven't been able to send judges out to communities this year. All 47 communities originally registered for this year's National Awards program were eligible to self-nominate for these awards. The first award is the Celebrating Heritage Outstanding Achievement Award, sponsored by Meister Media. This award honors a community who excels at recognition, designation, protection, commemoration, and celebration of historical, cultural, natural, agricultural, and industrial resources. The winner of the Outstanding Achievement Award for Celebrating Heritage is Superior, Wisconsin. Superior has a deep and diverse history with exceptional efforts to preserve historic sites and structures and to provide educational opportunities and celebrations to help residents and visitors learn about their ancestors. The heritage of Superior is unique as the community celebrates the indigenous people who migrated from the east, the fur traders of the 1800s, and later the lumber and mining industries. The natural history of the area is significant, and special care has been taken to preserve the many parks, the 4,400-acre municipal boreal forest, and the restoration of culturally significant wild rice in the St. Louis River estuary. Congratulations, Superior. The next award is the Overall Impression Outstanding Achievement Award, sponsored by the Blackmore Company. This award recognizes a community that is welcoming and attractive, with effective amenities, is well designed and clean, and has good policies and plans of action in place. The winner of the Overall Outstanding Achievement Award is Decatur, Illinois. Decatur continues to grow as a vibrant community that offers unique businesses, opportunities, creates recreational destinations, and a revitalized downtown with public amenities. Both the downtown revitalization and the Lakeshore Landing development created outdoor furnishing guidelines for styles, colors, and materials for signage, outdoor furnishings, banners, and other amenities. Well done, Decatur. Awards will be presented today throughout the symposium, so stay tuned to hear if your community's name is called next.
And now it's time for a word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Frank Zoncherb, and welcome to the ZRB Idea Factory, our virtual studio of the imagination and the possible. Our talented team has been turning innovative ideas into powerful client solutions for over 30 years, and we've been a proud marketing and creative supplier to America in Bloom for nearly 20 of those years. Let me take you on a quick tour of the studio and show you some of our exciting new innovations for clients, like our very own Z360-degree experience. Responding to COVID-19 lockdowns, which restricted many retailers and forced some into actually physically closing stores, ZRB responded by creating online aspirational shopping experiences and showrooms. Z360 stores are far more engaging and shopper-friendly than digital catalogs. For the AIB Symposium in the Sky, we've created the Sponsors Showcase, found on the AIB website, where you can learn about the many products and services available to America in Bloom participants through an immersive experience. Imagine what you could do with a Z360 online experience to promote tourism in your own community, in business improvement districts or parks. As we take today's Z360 studio tour, you'll notice the ZRB Idea Factory light bulb in several locations. We will only cover a few of the ones we put on display for Symposium in the Sky attendees, but please click on the ZRB hotspot found on the AIB Sponsor Showcase on the website to learn more. From branding through print design and digital marketing, ZRB helps clients attract, inspire, engage, and motivate customers and audiences. When the marketing objective is to attract economic development in your community, visitors to the downtown, or connect with new generations to understand the value of plants and gardens, you need a competitive advantage. And that's why I'm so excited to introduce our brand new ZRB. People can have a unique and engaging experience on their mobile phones with the ZRB augmented reality animation, while interacting with the real world in your community. And here's Sharon DeWard to show you how.
Creating an AR experience is easy. All people have to do is scan the QR code and click the View in My Space button, and you can meet the ZRB. Now you can interact with the bee and take photos with your family and friends. It doesn't have to be a bee. Choose animals, insects, or plant life common to your area, or community mascots and themes. How about a tulip for Holland, Michigan, Linda Hart? Even create a seasonal campaign for Christmas. You can add community logos or get local companies involved for sponsorships. People can take photos and be encouraged to share on social media or send to their family and friends to share experiences in your community. AR campaigns are relatively simple to execute and can create a real buzz. Increase your exposure by adding educational elements, by providing facts about nature or your community. Encourage people to visit multiple locations by providing digital or hard copy maps, and create social media content. Let the ZRB Idea Factory help your community or company create new digital and augmented reality experiences.
Over the decades, working with businesses, governments, organizations, and associations, ZRB has developed an efficient 5-step idea factory process. Now, working virtually, we offer communities a way to generate results by overcoming challenges and barriers to innovation. Working collaboratively, we define your challenge and generate ideas to solve the problems. Develop the ideas to their fullest potential. Judge the ideas and make good ones great. Help you communicate the ideas in order to get buy-in. Turn great ideas into actions and results by creating effective strategies that will inspire people and action plans that provide focus. ZRB would love to hear from you. Send us a note on our website at zrb.ca and we can set up a convenient time to have a video call to review your challenge and to set up an idea factory just for you. Thank you and enjoy AIB's Symposium in the Sky.
We are in for a treat today. We've assembled a panel of mayors from America in Bloom communities to talk about how this year has been for their towns and cities, if and how they've been able to keep America in Bloom efforts active, and more. Thank you to former Mayor John Manchester for moderating the session today. The mayors on the panel are Tracy Gant of Edmonston, Maryland, Paul Helenberg of Castle Rock, Washington, Yank Lovelace of Brewton, Alabama, and Nathan Bocks of Holland, Michigan. Welcome, mayors. Thanks for joining us today.
Good afternoon. My name is John Manchester. I'm the former mayor of Lewisburg, West Virginia. This year's mayor's reception for our AIB Symposium is a little bit different than in past years because we're all doing it remotely and we're all learning as we proceed with the responding to the COVID-19 emergency. We're developing new ways of getting content out there and interacting with folks. This one is my particular pleasure to host a panel of distinguished mayors from around the country, with the theme being, how has your community been challenged by the COVID-19 virus? How have you responded to it? And in particular, how has it affected your approach to AIB? Have you had to do anything differently this year in terms of your participation in AIB or the projects that you've been involved in with AIB? Such that other communities can learn from what you have experienced and be able to put those in their toolbox as well. So with that start, I see we have 3 pieces of the puzzle to start with. I'm going to introduce briefly, have each member of the panel introduce themselves and a little bit about their community in particular. Then we're going to get into the meat of the matter and talk about the COVID-19 virus and the emergency and the response that the communities have had. And then we will go into, at the end of the session, we'll have time for some Q&A from members of the public who have tuned into this session to be able to give some feedback. If they want to pepper some of the mayors about more detail about how they responded or anything that didn't get covered, that would be the time. The nature of this presentation is such that people who are participating in this session will have an opportunity to write their questions down as they come to them on the side of the screen and enter those in, and we'll be able to address those either immediately after that or to be able to direct those to the mayors who have experience in dealing with that. So with that said, I'm going to go across my screen and just basically welcome each of the panel members to our session, and then ask them at the end of that to talk about their community briefly, and then we'll get into the meat of the matter. First, I'd like to introduce Mayor Nathan Bocks from Holland, Michigan. Mayor, thank you for being with us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Paul Heisenberg from Castle Rock. Helenberg, I apologize, from Castle Rock, Washington. Hey, Paul.
Good to be here. Thank you guys very much for inviting me.
Our pleasure. Wonderful. We also have Mayor Yank Lovelace from Brewton, Alabama. Mayor, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Thank you much. And Mayor Tracy Gant from Edmonston, Maryland. Tracy, thank you for joining us today as well.
Hello, everybody. Great to be here.
Wonderful. So in that order, to get things started, Mayor Bocks, if you would introduce your community to us so we get a little sense of what you're all about, and then we can take it from there.
Certainly. As you said, I'm in beautiful Holland, Michigan, along the shores of Lake Michigan. We're a community of about 33,500 residents. And one thing I always like to point out to people right at the beginning, especially with American Bloom folks, the mission statement of the city of Holland is to maximize livability. Two simple words that spell out a whole lot of the goals of the America in Bloom program. We have a beautiful community all year round, but we're probably best known for our Tulip Time Festival that occurs every year in May. We're a tourist community, but we're also a manufacturing community. We're a major supplier to the automotive industry. We make automotive interiors, we make mirrors, we make headlights, those types of things. We are also the world headquarters of Hudsonville Ice Cream. We have a large LG Chem automotive battery plant. We've got a long history of strong traditions, but we are also a cutting edge community in regard to design and development. For those who've been involved in American Bloom for years, you probably have heard Holland, Michigan's name a number of times at the annual conference and the awards ceremonies. We won our population category in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. We were the winner of the Circle of Champions in 2015. We won the Communities in Bloom International Challenge in 2017. And then we were back again in America in Bloom in 2019 and won our population category again. So we've been, and along with that, a lot of other criteria awards as well. My first involvement with American Bloom actually happened because my office was a stop along the route back in 2011. I'm a small business owner. I own a small law office. And I found one day I walked into my office and found a little door knocker on my door saying, hey, we're going to be coming through with some judges that are going to be taking a look at the community. And we'd really appreciate it if you had your place looking as best as you possibly can. So we cleaned things up here a little bit, and the judges actually stopped and took some pictures of my office. And the next thing I knew, I was on the Holland and Bloom committee. And up until last November, I was a private citizen here in Holland, just engaged as a community member in Holland and Bloom. But then last November, I was elected mayor of Holland. And I've found that the relationships that I built and the information that I gained over the last 9 years being involved in Holland and Bloom here has really helped me as mayor to have an incredible amount of background information about what's going on in the community, as well as having those relationships that we've needed, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, as we've gotten into COVID-19 and trying to work our way through that. So that's just a little introduction about Holland, Michigan.
Well, thank you so much. That does set the stage for us to be able to talk about specific things that you've noticed in the current day as well. So thank you so much, Mayor. Mayor Paul, please tell us about Castle Rock, Washington.
Well, Castle Rock's a small city, probably about 2,300 people, located about 50 miles north of Portland, Oregon, about 100 miles south of Seattle, Washington. We're the gateway to Mount St. Helens. And Castle Rock was really impacted with the eruption of Mount St. Helens. We have a major river that runs through our community, and it took 2 or 3 years of dredging to get that back down to keep the floodwaters away. So we're challenged on a lot of our properties because of the 30 to 40 foot of dredge spoils that's there trying to grow stuff on. And we've belonged to the American Blooms for about 8 years. I've been mayor for 10 and a half years. And it's been a great experience. We got into it. We were really down. We were about 30–40% vacancies in town, like any other small town in the country. And, and the town really hadn't changed in, 70 years. It kind of looked about the same. And with some street renovations and American in Bloom, within a year, our vacancies went up to about 10%. And within 2 to 3 years, we were down about 1% vacancies in storefronts. So, really a great success story for our community. And we've won a number of awards. I wish I could have named them all off like Brock, but I feel bad that I know them, but I don't know exactly. But we've won our fair share of awards, and we're proud to belong to American in Blooms. The information that comes from the judges when they judge our community is so helpful. Because it's such a broad array of stuff. It's about the easiest or the most inexpensive consultant that you can hire for your city. I can't speak enough about it. It's made such a great change. I can keep on going about Castle Rock. It's just a small community. And, we've struggled with the COVID-19, but we're making it through. And, a lot of thanks to American in Blooms and our Bloom team and and the other volunteers in our community. So that's about all I got to say right now about Castle Rock.
Thanks so much, Mayor Paul. Thanks. Mayor Yank, you are up. Tell us about Brewton.
Brewton, Alabama is a city of about 5,400 people. We're located in South Alabama. We are about 60 miles from the Gulf of Mexico. Our city was basically started because of the natural resources of a virgin pine forest in the late 1800s. It's now pretty diversified in manufacturing and now in technology. And we have gotten 2 large technology companies are now in our city, and they were attracted, in their own words, by the beauty of the city. And so for us to have joined America in Bloom in my first year of being the mayor has transformed the look of our town and has led to numerous other improvements, trying to keep up with the improvements we've made with flowers and other things in opening numerous parks in our city.
Thank you, Mayor. It gives us a nice snapshot of your community we can build on. Mayor Tracy, tell us about Edmonston, Maryland.
Oh, I'll be happy to. Edmonston is actually our small community. We have approximately 1,500 at this time. Our last census count said 1,500. I'm sure our next census will show that we have pretty much more. We are located maybe 2.5 miles from Washington, D.C. We're part of the Port Towns community. Our community is small, but we do really big things. We do big things environmentally. American Bloom has really caused us to blossom in so many ways. We have flowers, plants, our trees. It has caused us to be so much more conscious of how we look. Our environment is so much more cleaner. And I'm telling you, this is not a commercial for America in Bloom, but our environment is so much more cleaner because of America in Bloom. We have a farm in our community. We do whatever we can. It's a walkable community. We have a beautiful bridge in our community. Sidewalks were not really big in Edmonston, but now we're doing things to keep our community safe. And along our sidewalks, we're doing things like hanging plants, flowers, just to beautify what we have to make our residents want to come out and really be a part. So I love Edmonston. I've been mayor. This is the third term. I've been a council member for just about 30 years. So I love it.
Wonderful.
I just love it.
30 years. I'm impressed. I thought 16 years as mayor was like forever sometimes. That being said, I'm going to reverse direction here. And while you're on a roll, Tracy, if you could give us some insight into the challenges that you have faced in your community because of the virus, and any insights you had into projects that you had from AIB that were either challenged or had to be overcome or dealt with in a little bit different way, or your volunteer base or that sort of thing. If you could give us some insight there to get it started.
Mm-hmm. Well, for one, with the pandemic, one of the challenges I personally had is I was infected with COVID-19, which was shocking to me. I felt that I was pretty healthy, and that wasn't supposed to happen. And it was early on, actually. So through the grace of God, I made it through, and it was very difficult. It was my husband and myself. We were infected, and we made it through. And it was, how do you get tested and all of that? How do you inform the community? And as mayor, what do you do? And we just took advantage of that and informed the community through a letter and went from there. And it also, I believe, it opened up the doors to allow others to feel that you can make it. And through that, we actually decided to thank those who are on the front line. Going through something like that caused a greater appreciation to those who are caretakers, those who are caretakers in the home. At that time, I had a 15-year-old granddaughter who had to take care of myself and my husband. And so you have to appreciate the caretakers that are in the home, but you also have to appreciate the caretakers that are in the hospital, the police officers, everyone. So what we did in the community and in the town was to create a parade. And the parade was because everyone was on lockdown. Everyone was in the home. They didn't know what to do. The kids were in the home. Parents were in the home going crazy. We have planters throughout our community. America in Bloom helped us out with that. We have the planters, beautiful flowers. So what we did, we created signs that says, thank you. And we have a very diverse community. So we had the planters to say thank you to all of our frontline workers. And I mean, they listed everyone. We tried not to miss anyone. And we did a parade and we went all through the town. Everyone came out. They appreciated just to see anybody. Music was playing. We gave candy and treats to the children. There were toys that were thrown out to the kids. Candy was thrown out to the kids. It was just wonderful. And I'm telling you, the appreciation that was displayed through letters emails just to say thank you from our community. They really appreciated that. That was like a coming out party. I'm telling you, it was just beautiful. It was beautiful for us, the council members and staff, and it was beautiful for our residents. And so what we did with those signs, we put stakes in them, and so now they're still throughout the community, just saying thank you. And so many other communities are saying that was a good idea, we're gonna do it. So we took advantage of our planters, and so that's throughout the community. So that was one thing that we did to deal with the pandemic. And some of the challenges as far as just keeping up with the standards of AIB is it's not really a challenge as far as the pandemic and keeping up the standard, because we love keeping our community beautiful. We love it. But financially, you're dealing with a budget. So that has hit us, just as I know it's hit everyone. And I think that's been the most difficult, because you have to invest so much in PPE gear, and you need to kind of hold some of your finances, because we're hearing that there's going to be another shift. There's going to be something else that's going to come. So you want to hold on to that. So you don't want to spend too much money on certain things. That would be the greatest challenge for us, I know, as a smaller community.
Thank you. That sets a nice stage, and I'm sure each of the other mayors have experienced that in their own way. And let's get some insight into what Mayor Yank has experienced in Brewton.
I started hearing about this pandemic in January, early February, and knowing that I don't have a medical background, the closest we had was our fire department and our paramedics that we have there. And so the person I put in charge of Brewton's response to the pandemic was our fire chief. And in January, we started buying masks, and we probably bought 30 to 40,000 masks, the N95s and the surgical masks. So in March, we started giving away masks to our citizens. And I would say we probably have given about 25,000 masks out. About every 2 weeks, we give masks out. At the same time, we started giving food away, and we've been doing about $20,000 a month in food giveaways, and normally do those through churches or other nonprofit groups. Let them handle the distribution. But we've had our firemen handle that also. We doubled down on our flowers with trying to combat depression and stress. We planted probably more flowers than we've ever planted this year. Flowers on all our bridges, flowers. And we've opened up several new parks in the last few years. And so even in our nature parks, which are about 300 acres of woods, we did trail markers, we did tree tags, plant tags, planted a lot more flowers along those paths, just so more people could get out into the free air and out of their houses, but yet not crowded together. So at the same time, we have a pretty large presence on social media with more than one site. And so we were, of course, putting out a lot of information about social distancing and masks and these food giveaways, but also cooking shows. We started to do hunting shows, anything we could think of that people would look at. In addition to social media, we own our own TV station. So we were taping shows and putting on our TV channel at the same time. So trying to reach people any way we could to get out information in a way that people in Brewton could relate to, using a lot of church ministers to help us. We started staggering our shifts on with our first responders. We were concerned that if one or two got sick, we could lose a whole shift at one time. So by staggering that, so far through police and fire, we have not had a problem in responding to the needs of the community. We did have to close our playgrounds for a while. We closed our city buildings. Matter of fact, I have a meeting later on this afternoon. We are discussing how to open back up safely our public library. Of all years to build a new swimming pool, we decided this year that we were building a new swimming pool, and so we have not been able to open that yet. So we've had to keep that, and I guess we will hopefully be able to open that up sometime next year. And we, same time, we built in a different area of town a new splash pad, and the same problem with that. But as many people we have, they work from home, from the city. We have a really good IT department, and so we started giving. We opened up all our ports to the public to give as much free internet out to the city, and we pretty much have covered the whole city with free internet. We then offered to our citizens free internet in their houses, actually hardwired to the houses. And now that's, and what our thinking was at the time, that schools may not be able to open. This was during the summer when we were doing this. If the schools were not going to be able to open, had to be a way for all of our citizens to have access on a regular basis to internet. Now the school system has picked it up, and any houses that we didn't get, they're now giving it free to their students. So we now have trying to do more, again, social distancing people, but giving them at least something to look at, interesting or different. So we started buying antique fire trucks and having antique fire truck parades. And if you want to pull traffic over, take a 1929 fire truck and drive down the road in it, and it's certainly interesting. So we've had a lot of donations from people that have helped us in this effort, and hopefully one day as things get back to normal, we'll display those in a museum that we're going to be building. So it's just something new for a little small town that most towns around us don't have something like that. We're close to the beaches, so we think a lot of people will stop and look at that. Our department that works on our floral arrangements, I just have to give them extra credit because they never slow down, even during the hottest part of the summer, wearing masks, wearing gloves, and working in that heat was quite amazing to me. And they attend, a number of them attend the AIB convention each year. And so the ideas that they have picked up there has really makes them very competitive with other cities. And so they work extra hours on their own just to make Brewton look better. And that's just an added benefit that we weren't expecting when we joined AIB.
Wow. Nice stories and insight, Mayor Yank. I appreciate that. We'll go on, keep going around. Mayor Paul, what about Castle Rock? What have been the challenges you've faced, and how have you adapted, and what insights do you have for us?
Well, with the COVID-19, the governor had a stay-home order for better part of 3 months. Only essential people could go out into the public or go to the grocery store or the pharmacy. So right off the bat, we were pretty worried about revenues in the city. So we really tightened our belts up and did what we had. And then in the same token with American and the Blooms, the Bloom team, they had 150, 160 baskets planted at the school with the horticulture class. Well, the school closed and the school didn't allow anybody on their premises. So we had to get special permission for the American and Blooms to go in and water and take care of those baskets until we could get them out. And in the same token, they came to me and they said, well, we really want to put the baskets up this year because it takes a lot of labor to hang. Those baskets are about 80 pounds a piece, the ones we put up. And, they said, well, maybe we'll just plant them. We'll just stick them in planters down on the sidewalks. And I said, no, everybody's been cooped up for 3 months. We need to get those things up and make our city look beautiful and help with the depression and people being locked up for such a long time. So, it has really been a great, the city looks beautiful as always. Our American and Blooms team and our volunteers have did an outstanding job throughout the pandemic, out working. Occasionally you see them out with masks on and working, and they keep their social distancing. And, so I think that's a real rewarding part of it, and makes our city just phenomenal over that. Makes people really happy, and so I'm real happy with that. And actually when it was all said, and we're still in the middle of the dang thing. I never thought we'd be this far into it, but our revenues have stayed fairly well. Our food, because we're really tourist. That's what Castle Rock's about, is tourists. We don't have any industry whatsoever in Castle Rock. We're a small community formed, with the timber industry back in the 1800s, and that's kind of died off over the years, and so we became more of a tourist community. And we just like to keep the quality of life in Castle Rock, and we're trying to continue that. We have lots of trails that people are walking on. We've kept those open throughout this, although our playgrounds are still closed because of the governor's orders, which makes it really tough on the kids. And no school this year, starting off anyway. It's all online. So that, and then the Blooms team, they decided with a lot of planners that we probably needed to get some food, extra produce for the families that really need it and help. So a lot of the planters that are not in the downtown section but around, they planted vegetables in it. And in the same token with our elementary school gardens, they kind of took those over since the kids weren't there. And then our big garden out at the high school, they went and helped plant that. And they're harvesting anywhere from 750 to 1,000 pounds a week right now for the last month, and giving them out to the food banks and whoever needs them. So that's kind of how we're trying to get the flowers and make things look better, but actually try to feed the community. So I'm really proud of that. These gals have went out and worked hard, and it just shows that we're a good, solid community, trying to take care of our people.
Well, these stories have been inspirational and have given specific ideas for everybody to sort of take and cobble together and duplicate and see if it works. And I appreciate those. And now I'd like to have Mayor Nathan Bocks from Holland to give us some insight into what your challenges have been and how you've responded.
Certainly. We had a lot of the same types of challenges that the other communities did with COVID hitting hard. One thing that was fairly unique for us is the fact that our Tulip Time Festival was scheduled to start just about the same time that COVID hit. Tulip time is the first week of May, and you may think, well, COVID hit back in March. You know, May's quite a ways down the road. Well, it takes a full year to get planned for Tulip time, and it's put together by an independent nonprofit organization. But they had, just as late February and early March was hitting, they had all of their preparations done and almost all of their expenses out already, and were waiting to be able to reap the revenues that come in. And Tulip time brings a $48 million economic impact to the community every single year. We did an economic impact study about 5 years ago. And over the 10 days of the festival, the whole of the community gets a $48 million benefit. And we saw that just completely disappear in front of our eyes. And yet Tulip time was left with a $1 million budget deficit because they were not able to sell tickets to anything. They were not able to get revenue from selling merchandise. And of course, our downtown restaurants and businesses suffered terribly. And so we were looking at a huge economic impact to the community. But there were a couple of benefits in it and a couple of additional challenges that came along with that as well. First is the tulips still bloomed. This was an absolutely spectacular weather spring in Western Michigan, and the tulips were the best that they've ever been in 90 years. But we also had a stay-at-home order here in Michigan during that time period. People were not allowed to travel, not supposed to be leaving their homes, except for absolutely necessary purposes, going and get groceries, going to see the doctor. But as early May hits in Western Michigan, the weather gets wonderful. It had been a cold and wet and snowy winter. And so people had cabin fever. And guess what? People wanted to do that first week of May. They wanted to come and visit because the tulips were actually absolutely beautiful in Holland. And we had heard what some other communities did. There was actually a fairly infamous mayor in Japan that went out and cut down all of the tulips so that people wouldn't come, because that's one of the things we were concerned about. We said, we've got these great tulips, but we need to make sure that we're also protecting our community. We cannot allow people to come in from out of town and potentially spread the virus, bring it here, maybe take it from here and bring it somewhere else. And I was the chair of the Tulip Time Festival 5 years ago. I've been a Tulip Time tour guide for the last 25 years. I'm known as Mr. Tulip in Holland, Michigan. And I'm the first mayor in the history of the Tulip Time Festival to have to record a video and ask people to please not come and visit our city. And for the most part, people respected that. We were very nervous for the few weeks of the festival when the tulips were in the highest bloom. We did have bits of traffic jams in our downtown area, but we worked very hard to get people to social distance. And one of the benefits that came from that for our local residents was our local residents were able to enjoy the tulips themselves without the crowds that we typically have during Tulip Time. We'll draw 2 million people into the city over the course of the 10 days of a typical Tulip Time festival. And for the first time in people's lives, because the festival's been around for 90 years, the first time in any of these people's lives, they were able to go out amongst the 4.5 million tulips that we have planted without great crowds around them. And they really got a different perspective from the festival that way. We as Holland in Bloom actually had an issue that came with it as well. We realized a few years ago that those tulip bulbs are in the ground, and the city actually plants most of the tulips. Tulip Time doesn't plant any at all, but the city plants them. And Holland in Bloom made a deal with the city a few years back and said, you know, you're just going to either dig up and throw away those bulbs, or you're going to rototill them back into the beds again. Will you give us the opportunity to be able to sell those bulbs? And so every spring we have what's called the Tulip Day, where we have, it's a shotgun start. We advertise it on social media. We actually have to have people wandering through the beds to make sure people don't start too early. And at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning or Saturday morning, a couple of weeks after the festival, we shoot off a gun and people race out to go fill 5-gallon buckets of tulip bulbs. And for $10, you can fill a 5-gallon bucket full of bulbs. We'll typically raise for Holland in Bloom upwards of $5,000 in a typical year for fundraising. So we lost, not only did we lose the festival, not only did we lose the revenue, we also lost that opportunity to be able to fund our Holland in Bloom program as well. Our local shops and restaurants suffered the same kinds of things that you did. But the way we responded to it is something that actually grew out of our participation in America in Bloom. we have built an infrastructure in this community of people that work together. We brought folks together from diverse groups, and we immediately started having Zoom meetings and saying, okay, how are we going to weather this storm? How are we going to get people to survive through this process? And how are we going to come out of this on the other side even better and stronger and more cohesive than we were before? We see challenges as opportunities, so we've been looking at new ways of doing things. Tulip Time, with that $1 million deficit, put the word out to the community. They are 90% there to filling that $1 million deficit. And that includes an anonymous $500,000 donation to the festival. This community realized that they could not let this 90-year tradition die, and so the money has been pouring into Tulip Time. They're still looking at the challenges of what do they do next year? How do we deal with those crowds that are coming? We typically have concerts, lots of live events, we have parades. They're trying to figure out ways to plan in this time of uncertainty because we don't know whether we're going to be able to have any of those events at all. But Tulip Time, our Visitors Bureau, our downtown group, our Windmill Island, the city, our downtown merchants and restaurants are all coming together to brainstorm ways to be able to make this work for the community work moving forward. And one of the great aspects of that came directly out of the American Bloom process is I pulled up the first screen for that first Zoom meeting where we were talking about this all the way back in March. I looked at the faces on the screen and I said, I've been sitting around a conference table with these people for the last 8 years talking about Holland Bloom. These are we have a history with each other. We know each other, we trust each other, we have worked together on projects, we know what each other are doing. And because we have that great relationship, we've even gone as far as we are doing joint marketing with one another now in ways that we've never done it before. We're actually sharing marketing budgets with one another because we're saying, there's no point in two of us paying for the cost of a billboard that's out there. There's no point in two of us working with planting more flowers in a particular area. Let's pool our resources to be able to make that happen. One other thing that came directly out of American Bloom that we were prepared for, one, we already had the tulips in the ground, so we didn't have to worry about that at all. But the other is a few years ago, we greatly expanded our city's greenhouse. We used to have a fairly small historic greenhouse that we used to grow some of the flowers that we would put in the tulip beds and around the city. Well, we expanded that about 5 or 6-fold a couple years ago. And it actually, this year was the first year that it was fully online. And so we had all of those annuals already planted, all ready to go. And as I heard Yank say, those flowers help deal with the depression with folks.
Absolutely.
Our downtown has never looked better than it did before. And we actually saved money because we grew the plants ourselves. And we were able to keep them in the greenhouse longer than we would if we had to buy them on the open market. And so when we ended up putting them in the ground, they were a lot more mature than they typically are. And so they were able to grow and fill in much faster and much better than they ever have before. And our downtown looks absolutely spectacular. When you walk through, I can't believe how good it looks this year. And that has an impact on people.
I think you're getting us all excited about to come visit and enjoy that. I appreciate everybody's insight here. Yank, I know you've got something that you have to take care of now, and I really appreciate your insights and sharing your stories and how you've overcome those. We're probably at a point where I'll just open it up to the members who are with us who would like to share any additional insights before we have to close down and not get too wordy and lengthy for this session as it starts out the American Bloom. We're early on in our symposium, and it's wonderful to have everybody there. Any final thoughts from you folks?
This is Yank. I just wanted to mention we had our first concert this past weekend, and everybody stayed in their cars. It was sent over there. The music was sent over their radios. It worked out great. So we plan on having more with that same format.
Wow, good move. Anyone else?
I'd just like to say that, I don't know where we'd be without American and Bloom participation over the years. I mean, I just think it's brought the people up to you know, helps that depression and being cooped up. And I don't know where we'd be if we hadn't participated in all these years in American in Bloom. It'd probably be a sad state of affairs.
It built, in my view, it built a lot of infrastructure that you could tap into and call upon. A lot of the base that you had set up,
Absolutely.
that you're able to call into play for responding and to be able to deal with things, whether it's the contacts you've made and the people you've worked with for so many years, but it's been very helpful for every one of our communities. So thank you so much. Anyone else? Tracy, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to build on that. With America in Bloom, we were able to be creative, and I think out of this pandemic, it's just brought so much creativity out of so many, and just even with our staff, it's just brought out so much creativity, and just having that beauty that's been brought out with America in Bloom. You're able to just build from what you already have, and it has brought that depression, those who don't even suffer from depression, this pandemic has caused that type of depression. So if you can walk outside and see the beauty of the flowers or the trees, just anything that we can build on from America in Bloom is just a wonderful thing that we've done. So thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. Please, Nathan.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm going to echo all of that and say our community has come to expect things to be beautiful. And when spring came again after that long winter, and they were able to see that we were doing all of those same kinds of things we've been doing other years because we had that infrastructure in place, I think that helped immensely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, at this point, I'd like to thank all our mayors for sitting in this session and sharing their insights and how the challenges and how they've overcome them. We've come up with some wonderful ideas that can be utilized in our own communities. And I just want to appreciate everybody and thank you for participating in this.
Yes, wow, that was very, very impressive. And you can tell that each one of these mayors has so much pride for their community and to really try to get them through the challenges that we all face. So gosh, well done to every single one of you. That said, I want to go over to the session Q&A, and I do have there's a question here that I think I'm going to direct it to John, being as a former mayor, and then maybe you can start and then get some feedback from the other mayors. So it says, do you get any pushback from naysayers when city budgets include beautification? And how do you respond to those that feel budgets are too tight to include landscaping and flower planting?
We really didn't get a whole lot of pushback on it. I think that Paul and Yank, if they might just chime in on that, I think they answered it very nicely in terms of what they were doing, and Tracy as well. So I'm gonna let the people who are currently in office, especially it's a timely question regarding budgets right now as everyone is looking around for what the next round might be. But perhaps one of them could address it, what they have experienced, if they've had any pushback on it.
This is Yank. We've had a little pushback in the beginning. I was the first mayor in Brewton that had to deal with Facebook. So you got comments when you do something different. People aren't used to it, then you're going to hear that. Once people saw our idea as it flourished, and then those kind of comments went away because we started getting so many positive comments. It's not that you from time to time won't get somebody that will sling an arrow at you, but that's part of politics too. So.
Nice.
I'll agree with that. Initially, we did get a little pushback, and I think that was because of a lack of understanding. I was one of the first to introduce America in Bloom. So just due to a lack of understanding, but once you see the results, there's, you get less and less pushback. So we really get none at all.
I'll echo what Tracy has to say there. We didn't get much of any pushback at all with our community. Matter of fact, we just this past week had our delivery of over 500,000 tulip bulbs from the Netherlands that we're planning on planting this fall to be ready to bloom in the springtime. And the community is incredibly excited about the fact that we're continuing that tradition.
Wow, beautiful.
Wonderful.
Well, you know, actually, there is one other question. And what I would suggest that we do, or that you do as mayors, if the question is ideas to add flowers to a new boulevard and bridge. I'm getting the nudge from Laura. So so what I would suggest that mayors, if you have some comments or some suggestions to go into the session Q&A, and go ahead and respond to Jan. That was her question. But in the meantime, I think that Laura is, like I said before, giving me the nudge to wrap up this session. Thank you, judges, thank you, mayors, for all of your input and insights. We really appreciate it. It's really good to know in America in Bloom that the leadership that we have really starts with you all, because that's how communities thrive. So thank you again. Really, really appreciate it.
Sure.